thinking I'm gonna knock him out in the first or second round. I'm going in thinking like, okay, cool. This is a 10-round fight.
If he blasts Dillian Whyte out there and gets rid of him inside 4 rounds, what do we say?
Dillian Whyte's had 3 fights in 3 years. He hasn't really boxed anybody. That's why it's great matchmaking. We're not sure what Dillian Whyte's got left. Frank Warren's guessing Dillian Whyte's got nothing left. Otherwise,
when Moses says first or second round, it is not just bravado. It is calculated. He has studied the tape. Dillian slows early, his feet plant too heavy, and his guard opens up. This is the moment Moses is waiting for 2 or 3 rounds at most. And Whyte will be staring at the lights. When you learn about the intensity of Moses' training camp, it becomes clear he is ready to strike the moment that bell rings.
If you can get guys out in the first and second round, then why not? Like, if anyone was to see how I train in camp, like for this fight, I've done 1 6-rounder, 2 6-rounders, 2 8-rounds, and the rest have been 10s. And I'm not prepared. Like I'm not preparing to fight Dillian Whyte for 1 or 2 rounds. Like I'm prepared to go for 10 rounds. If it goes that, it goes that.
Moses is not rushing him blind, as his camp has been built for sustained pressure, but with explosive burst end it early. And he knows what his biggest flaw is, how he reacts under fast, clean combinations. So the plan is to hit hard, hit fast, and give Dillian no time to settle. Even Dave Allen sees the danger for Dillian, and he knows exactly how Moses might turn this into a short night. Dave Allen defends Dillian Whyte's pride, but pride will not patch up slowing footwork or the gaps in his guard. Even in top condition, Dillian Whyte still leaves openings, and Moses Itauma is exactly the type of fighter who can smash through them the first 3 rounds. Great title, like people saying he is a 1-round job for a 20-year-old kid. Is just, I think he is disrespectful, and I think he will take it that way as well. And I think we will see him in really good shape. We put too much pressure on our upcoming Buddy McGirt. Might praise Dillian Whyte's different mindset, but that will not erase the reality. Once Moses applies early pressure, those old defensive habits will resurface. All the bullets and guns smoke in the world will not stop a young, sharp heavyweight who smells blood. And when Buddy McGirt admits what he really knows about Moses, the cracks, and team-wides, preparation become even clearer.
Get guys out in the first and second round, then why not? Like, if anyone was to see how I train in camp, like for this fight, I've done 1 6-rounder, 2 6-rounders, 2 8-rounds, and the rest have been 10s.
Buddy McGirt's honesty is staggering, as admitting he never studied Moses' Itauma is like walking into the lion's den blindfolded against a 20-year-old predator with explosive power in the opening rounds. And that lack of preparation is exactly the weakness Moses can exploit, while the element of surprise could end this fight before round 3.
He understands the importance of this fight. I mean, what it means to him in his career. So, it's all about now going out now, and it's like all about bullets and gun smoke.
Dave Caldwell knows the ugly truth. If Dillian Whyte does not slow Moses Itauma down early, this fight could turn into a public execution. And taking away the sharpness is not just tactical advice, it is desperation. Whyte has been folded before when faced with speed and precision, and Moses is faster, sharper, and younger than anyone Dillian has faced in years. Caldwell's body shot plan is basically an admission that Whyte cannot match Moses on the outside, but here's the controversy: you cannot touch the body. If you cannot get close, and Moses' footwork will have Dillian chasing shadows. By the time Whyte tries to dig to the ribs, he might already be eating uppercuts and counters that rattle the chin. Everyone's been questioning Caldwell might be giving the right plan, but it is like handing a man a water pistol and telling him to stop a wildfire, and the only investment here might be in Dillian's hospital bills.
I'm going to be 1,000% honest with you. I've never seen Moses fight. So I really don't know what he's ready for. He's got to bring it all. I mean, I says, Dill, listen, let's just be realistic here. What could this kid do that you haven't already seen? But can that kid ask the same question? Can Dillian do something that...
And while Caldwell talks strategy, Gareth A. Davies has a very different idea about how Whyte should try to get an edge. And Gareth A. Davies is basically admitting that Dillian Whyte's best shot might not even come to ring, as he is talking about mind games, press conference theatrics, verbal warfare, and trying to rattle a 20-year-old before the first bell. But here's the problem: Moses Itauma is not wild like other young fighters as you. Cannot get in the head of someone who has been sparring. World champion since his teens and thrives under pressure. And if Whyte tries to pull the table throwing trash-talking routine, it could backfire badly, making him look desperate and past his prime. And fans will remember that Garrett's aggressive assault talk is a clear sign. Team Whyte knows they are outgunned, And technically they're leaning on chaos because they cannot rely on skill alone. And when the talking stops, it is still Moses' fist doing the real convincing and in 2 or 3 rounds at. Conversation could be over permanently.
Very difficult fight for him. It's a very difficult fight for him. He can't afford to bite on Itauma's triggers and feints. He's got to land something early to get some respect off of Moses as well. And it's called the body snatcher. I think he's got to dig that body. He's got to try and take away the sharpness from Itauma.
When Eddie Hearn, a man who has promoted some of the biggest names in boxing, calls Moses Itauma an exceptional talent, it is not just hype, because this is a promoter who has seen hundreds of prospects and he knows when someone is special. But Hearn's praise carries an unspoken dagger for Dillian Whyte, because when you highlight Moses' long-standing amateur record and pedigree, you're indirectly pointing out Whitey's lack of it, as Moses has been groomed in the art of boxing since childhood, while Whitey's style has always leaned on raw toughness over refined technique and in a 3-round shootout talent, and timing will beat grit and guesswork every time. And Hearn might be smiling as he says it, but the subtext is clear that the smart money is on Moses dismantling Whitey before he can even settle into the fight. And when even the sport's top salesman sounds like he is selling tickets to a coronation, you know the upset odds are slim.
Thinking about this earlier, Umar, and I was thinking that next week in Riyadh, Dillian needs to try and get in Moses' head in the fight week. And that might mean an aggressive assault at the press conference. It might mean...
And Dave Allen does not shy away from put his own money where his mouth is when it comes to picking a winner, as he keeps it blunt that inactivity kills fighters, and Dillian Whyte has been a stranger to consistent action. And in heavyweight boxing rust is not just about timing, it is about survival. Because if you are not used to the pace of fresh, hungry talent, like Moses Itauma, will drown you in pressure, and Allen pays lip service to Wids, experience and punching power, but it sounds more like politeness and conviction, as in reality, he is siding with the youth, speed, and momentum Moses brings. And he knows that layoffs combined with the miles already on his chin make the first 3 rounds a minefield. He is unlikely to cross unscathed, since Moses will not be feeling him out and will be testing the durability that has already been exposed. And if Whyte is not razor sharp from second one, those surprise results Allen talks about could end up being a brutal early stoppage that nobody in his camp wants a picture.
Moses is an exceptional talent. He's been in the game a long time. He's got a very, long-standing amateur record and pedigree.
Peter Fury frames a fight perfectly as experience versus speed, but in 2025, speed is king, and Dillian Whyte might be a big unit with power. Yet he is also a big target for someone like Moses Itauma, who can create angles and fire back before Whitey resets. And the controversial truth is that experience only matters if your body can still execute what your mind knows. And Wid's recent form suggests the reflexes are not what they used to be, as Moses does not just bring power, but the kind of calculated ferocity that breaks down older fighters faster than they expect, and one wrong pivot or one mistimed jab could have Whitey walking into a left hook or straight. Whitey never sees coming, and Fury's question is not rhetorical, because most insiders already suspect the answer, and it is why this fight could be remembered as the night a new generation fully took over.
Dillian Whyte's not been active for Itauma, so I'm making Itauma a favourite based on that, but Dillian Whyte is experienced, he can punch. No result would surprise me, but I would go with it.
Tyson Fury does not do subtle, and here he is cutting straight through Dillian Whyte's pride with a sledgehammer, and calling him frilly and white knickers is not just playground banner, but a psychological shotman to stick his Fury says in no uncertain terms that would no longer has the grit to survive a real dogfight. And that is where Moses Itauma comes in, because if Fury believes Wid's time is run out, then facing a young, explosive heavyweight who can end fights in 3 rounds is basically walking into guillotine, and critics will call it disrespect. But the reality is Fury has seen enough of Whyte up close to know how he reacts under pressure. And lately, it has not been pretty. And against Itauma, we will not just be fighting a skilled opponent, but will be carrying the weight of public perception, knowing everyone is waiting to see if he folds again. And if that gets in his head before the opening bell, those 3 rounds, Moses' promise might actually be generous.
Look, it's a good fight to make. Dillian Whyte's got the experience. He's also, he can punch, he's strong, he's a big unit. But can he negate the speed, the power and the ferocity of this young heavyweight coming? And he gives angles. He's a good boxer as well. So that's the thing. You've got experience, against somebody who's up and coming that hasn't been tested yet because he's so sharp, so deadly with his punches, and and he's very explosive. So time will tell. But it can.
And Fury is not done giving his take. And he also points out exactly why now is the perfect time for Moses to take this fight and Tyson Fury for all his antics knows matchmaking. And he is spot on here, because this is the sweet spot for Moses Itauma to face Dillian Whyte. And 2 years out of the ring is an eternity in heavyweight boxing, especially for a fighter who has already been through wars. And yes, Whyte is still dangerous, and yes, he can still punch, but punching power means little if you cannot close the distance before eating leather, and the old Dillian Fury references was a tougher, fresher, hungrier man, the one who went toe-to-toe with world-level opposition. But that version does not exist anymore, at least not for 12 full rounds, and certainly not for the blistering early pace Moses will set. And the real intrigue is not whether Moses can step up to Whitey's level, but whether Whitey can handle the speed precision, and youth pressing him from second one. And if the old Dillian is gone, this fight might be less step up and more passing of the torch.
Dosper talked about a lot, didn't he? He won't fight this, he won't fight that. Who's a coward now, coward? Who's a shithouse now? You useless.
Interview 12. Anthony Joshua does not hand out compliments for free. So when he calls Moses Itauma phenomenal, it carries weight. And Joshua has been in the ring with him, felt the speed, the time, and the power, and still studies him to understand his full potential. And that is telling. And Joshua also points to Itauma's team, which is a subtle but important factor. And Whitey has chopped and changed corners in the past, but Moses' camp is stable, unified, and laser focused. And that kind of cohesion produces smart fight plans and confident fighters. And when AJ says Moses will edge it is a polite way of saying he sees a younger man having the tools to control and close the show. And from Joshua's point of view, the deciding factor will not be raw power. And Whitey has that too. But who can impose their style first? And Moses, with his explosiveness and discipline, is far more likely to put a stamp on the fight in those critical opening rounds.
Good fight, actually, especially for Moses. I think it's a very good time to fight Dillian. He's had a couple of years out the ring. But, you know, make no mistakes, Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher to head and body. I know he's taking it very serious. I'm speaking to Ty Mitchell, who's in training camp with him. And looking forward to the fight. You know, it's a big step up for Moses because he hasn't really fought anybody on Dillian's level. The old Dillian, it was a couple of years ago. It's going to be interesting to see how much that Dillian...
Even pundits like Adele Adipo admit that for Dillian Whyte to win, he has to turn back the clock. And even that might not be enough. And Adele Adipo's take is as blunt as it gets. And the only version of Dillian Whyte that stands a chance is old school Dillian, the rough, fearless brawler, who turned press conferences into street fights. But here's the catch, even if that version shows up, it is still not a guarantee against Moses, and Ito 80 knows that at just 20 years old, Moses has grown up, studying Whyte's chaos, understanding how to remain composed while the other man burns energy on antics. And the idea that Whyte's path to victory starts outside the ring is telling. And it means people are not confident he can simply outbox Moses. And that is dangerous, because if you need to win the psychological battle, just to give yourself a chance in the physical one, you're already on the back foot. And Moses will welcome any pre-fight fireworks, because once the bell rings, the talking stops, and the only path left will lead straight through Whyte's chin.
Around him, honestly, and you're as good as your team, but I think he's got a really good team around him. After being in the ring with him and studying him, still studying him now, I think that he's the one to edge it.
When the bell rings in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, it will not just be Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte trading punches. It will be youth against age, momentum against rust, and the promise of a new era against the remnants of an old one. And if Moses delivers on his word and stops Whitey inside 3 rounds, it will not just be a highlight reel knockout. It will be the night the heavyweight division officially acknowledges a 20-year-old as a genuine threat to the biggest names in the sport, and the aura of invincibility that Whitey once carried will be gone for good, replaced by questions about whether he should ever fight again. But if Dillian Whyte shocks the world and finds a way to withstand the early storm and impose his power, it will be a career-saving statement, a message to every young contender that the old guard is not done yet.
To almost see the old school Dillian Whyte who, you know, wasn't afraid of anyone, would put it on anyone, because Moses is still only 20. And I almost feel like if Dillian needs a path to victory, it might start from outside the ring first, and then we'll see. Because there would have been a time when Moses is growing up and he's watching Dillian.
And the psychological game is already in motion with Whitey's team trying to rattle Moses in the build-up end. Moses smiling through it, knowing that chaos plays right into. His hands and both men have everything to lose for Moses a perfect rise for Whitey his last stand. And that is what makes this fight unmissable. And the pace, the pressure, the power is all pointing to an explosive finish long before the final bell. And will it be the coronation of boxing's youngest superstar or the resurgence of veteran warrior refusing to bow out quietly? And one thing is for sure when these two collide in Riyadh someone's. Night is ending early, so are you backing Moses Itauma to keep his promise, or is Dillian Whyte about to rip up the script? Drop your predictions below and join the debate.